G'day guys, it's Jay Ellis here, high performance lecturer. And today I'm joined by not only a very special guest, but a very good friend of mine. He's currently the head of football analysis with the Perth Glory Football Club, Michael Mantikos. Mike, how are we, mate?
Not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Really well. Mate, we have so much to cover today. And the reason I wanted to chat with you is because technology in sport, being a football analyst. So let's start with, first and foremost, how did we go this season? Let's wrap it up in a brief. How was it for you, being there at Perth Glory working under Tony Popovich?
Look, it was an amazing experience. Obviously, being coming into the team environment, the club environment, working under Tony Popovich. I think it was about 10 games in. I was asked to come in and take over the role. It was an unbelievable experience working with the best coach in the country, the best coaching staff in the country. My eyes were open to a lot of things, and obviously finishing the season not the way we wanted to, but going through a few games and going through the COVID experience, then going into a hub to finish an A-League experience under intense conditions. I feel was a world of its own. So, look, I've come out the back end of it in great shape, I think, ready to tackle the next season.
Certainly great shape. You've worked extremely hard, and you and I have a very close friendship where we've been able to discuss your direction that you want to take with the club in regards to analysis. But let's talk technology in sport, especially in football, but across all sports. Same, but different, really. What is analysis to you, Mike? And how important is it in your processes day to day there at Perth Glory?
My take on analysis is how do you assist the product to perform better? So in a football sense, the product of the game is the player, right? So how do we use technology to educate the players better so that they can perform better in training and they can perform on match day to ultimately win the 3 points? So there's many ways you can do that. You can do that through, using sports code to provide video feedback. You can do that through telestration software. You can do that through PowerPoint and Keynote presentation animations. There's many ways to do that. The ingredient to bring that all together is keeping your process and workflow quite simple, but still adding the level of detail that's needed at the professional end of the sport. Because the players that we deal with are highly intelligent, and they want the information in an intelligent way. If we, how can I put it in better terms? Information's got to be accurate. It's got to have high detail, and there's got to be an element of design, of good design to the information as well. So using all the technologies that I've talked about, you've got to encompass that together and deliver that to the staff and to the players.
Now, Mike, you and I have had lengthy discussions about this before in regards to high performance sport. And we're going to do an interview in the coming weeks about your journey and the ups and downs and the roller coaster that you've been on to get to where you are. But let's touch now on what some of the things from a technological point of view, what some of the things that you probably didn't anticipate or have been a little bit different for you since you've been in the role there at the professional end, right at the top there, working with Perth Glory. What's been the biggest surprise, I guess, for you, Mike?
Not surprise in as such. Like the expectation that I had moving from, say, the environment that I was in to the professional end was I expected a high level of detail that was going to be required in the information preparation in terms of preparing for opponents, preparing our players. The biggest shock to the system was the intensity of that. Okay, because games come thick and fast. You might think that you have a 7-day or 8-day turnaround, and you've got a little bit of time to get yourself ready. But time flies when you're working in professional sport. There's so many things that come up through a training week so many ad hoc things that get asked of the coaching staff to do. And I include myself as part of the coaching staff. And that time slips away from you. So that was a big shock to the system. So it took me a little bit of time, not a long time, but a little bit of time to acclimatise myself to that intensity. Once I got used to that intensity, then it was just a matter of sharpening the workflow a little bit. So then I can keep it nice and simple, but also evolve it at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it certainly does make sense. And I'm smiling because of the many little conversations that you and I had along the way in regards to that environment and the work that you were doing. Mike, I think a lot of undergrad students, a lot of bachelor students will watch this content and this interview. So let's talk, what does a day in the life, and I know it's so different every time, and I know you've had this question before and you probably think not again, but what does the day in the life look like when you're preparing for a game day?
In terms of training week, or would you say match day in itself, or would you say the lead into the match on the weekend? Just because so many different days.
Of course. And you've just shown right there, Mike, thank you, how bad my question was. But in all seriousness, let's start with training, and then we'll get to the glitz and the glamour of game day.
Okay, so I've broken it up into a couple of areas. So my day will start, wake up at between 4 and 4:30 in the morning. I will always look to watch a game of, say, a team that we enjoy watching from across one of the leagues in the world. And I do that because as an analyst, you can't just look at your own football team play. You also got to keep your skills sharpened as well. So I'll look at a team, I'll cut up some footage and clips in the morning before I go into work. And then by about 6:30, 7 o'clock, I'm in at work, and we're preparing for the training day ahead. So whether that's putting together the session plan for the day or whatnot, or it's a pre-training meeting, I'm in between 6:30 and 7 preparing for that. We're on pitch by about 9:30, and that will involve me setting up the cameras, whether that's a live capture setup, whether that's a post-capture setup system. That's my involvement in terms of running the training session from an analysis point of view. Then after the training session is finished, there's an analysis review of that training session. That's handed to the coaches after that, and then that will lead into the preparation for the opponent on the weekend. So if it's match day -5, and it's the big, say, Monday, the beginning of the week, we'll look at who we're playing, come Saturday or the Sunday, and we'll say, okay, well, how many games do we want to watch of that opponent based on the style that they play and based on how we're going to tactically prepare for that opponent on the weekend. So that'll really dictate how we prepare the week, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And let's get to the glitz and the glamour of match day, because I have a lot of students tell me all the time, mate, that I want to work in professional sport. And when I ask them doing what, they go, I don't know, I just want to work in sport because it's great. So everyone sees the match day. Everyone sees the glitz and the glamour. So let's talk about that for you. What does that look like as a football analyst?
Well, the match day in the morning, it starts very early. So there will be a refinement of a match day presentation that we want to show the players prior to, then going to the game. So there'll be a refinement of that between me and the head coach. There'll be, there might be some tweaks that we need to make. I'll go and make those tweaks, and then by, say, a few hours before the game, we'll deliver that presentation to the players. In and amongst that, I'm packing up all the gear. I'm preparing my computer equipment. I'm running tests of my computer equipment to make sure that when I get to the stadium, I don't have any issues. That might take a couple of hours. Once the presentation is delivered, we're traveling to the stadium. Once I get to the stadium, then there's another process altogether. So it's preparing the change rooms, with any analysis information, going through any final tick of the boxes with the coaching staff on any clips that we want to look at or show the players. I'll prepare a couple of other bits and pieces for the players, like communication for the coaches, like communication equipment that they need to be wearing during the game so we can communicate with them from the coach's box. Once that's done, I will go up to the coach's box and I'll prepare the room, go through further tests until the warm-up. So I'll watch the warm-up from the coach's box, and then come match. Match starts, go down at half-time, go through any video footage that needs to be shared with the coaches and the players, and then back up for the second half. And then obviously the match finishes and the post-match analysis starts after that. But in a nutshell, there's never any downtime, right? So the match day process for me will start probably at 5:30 in the morning. You got to wake up, you got to prepare things. I like to give myself a little bit of time in that preparation process, just in case there needs to be some larger alterations with any presentations or anything that we're going to do through the match, right? Because you never know. What if a player wakes up sick on match day? What if something happens during the day before we get to the stadium that's going to alter the way we need to play? So I like to give myself a little bit of time at the beginning of the day in order to make sure that we can account for any ad hoc changes that may come up. But you're looking from, say, for me, about 5:30 in the morning. That process won't finish till close to 11:30 at night after the match. And then it's back, starting the next day straight away. So
long days, hard work, and that should be the caption, I reckon, for professional sport.
100%.
Mate, I want to flick the switch now. Last couple of questions, if you don't mind. Advice. And I don't want to dive too much into the interview coming in a couple of weeks in regards to your journey, but we're talking technology in sport. So let's start with the fact that somebody might want to work in sport, might be a little bit hesitant towards using certain technology, or might go into an environment or an internship where maybe they're using different software or different programs that they're not familiar with. What's your advice to people about jumping on board and being proactive in learning as much as they can around that stuff?
Don't be scared is the first thing. Don't be afraid to jump in. With the way the internet is these days, there is a wide range of resources available that everybody can access to. That's related to their field of choice, whether that's analysis or something else. The way analysis has grown in sport over, say, the last 5 to 10 years, there's a lot of people that are sharing a lot of content and a lot of processes around upskilling in certain software. For example, sports code, illustration software like Coach Paint and all that. There's a lot of resources available for people to learn. So don't be afraid to jump in. The other thing I would say to that is don't expect to pick up learning a new software quickly. Right? Sometimes some of the softwares that we use across analysis can be a little bit complicated to start with, and it takes time to learn. Allow yourself that time. That's what I'd say.
Okay. Because it's certainly a process, isn't it, in understanding your workflow and understanding the tools that you're going to, I guess, add to your toolbox in order to help you be efficient in what you do, right?
Yeah, correct. And the other thing you have to consider is there's a lot of bells and whistles out there. There's a lot of different pieces of software that look and feel and work unbelievably well. The thing that will dictate what you use and how you use it is your coaching staff, right? How they want the workflow, the analysis workflow to operate. They might not want to use illustration software as part of their pre-match presentations, as part of their training reviews, or part of any presentation they decide. So, for that point in time, you may not go down the path of learning illustration software. On the flip side of that, if you see that could be a benefit to the workflow, then you have to learn how you're going to be able to sell that to the coaching staff and show the benefit of using that software. Because, like I said at the beginning of this interview, was it's all about educating the players and the staff. right? And you have to figure out how you're going to do that in the best possible way. So again, your workflow is dictated by your coaching staff, but you also need to find how, also need to figure out how you're going to evolve that as well.
Mike, the last one I'm going to finish with here, mate, because you've raised some very, very good points throughout this interview. But what people might not know, because it's certainly not something you tell them when you shake their hand and say hello, is that you really value education. You put a lot of time into upskilling yourself. You have a master's degree. You have your A license in football, and you have many other certificates and attributes that go with that along the way. Why, and how? Why is that important?
I'm a big believer in knowledge is power. Not in a I don't say that in an arrogant way. I say that in a way that when you can fill your brain up with knowledge and help your knowledge processes grow, it allows you to become more adaptable to situations. Now, for example, when I went through my coaching licenses, when I got to my B license, I realized, hey, I actually want to become an analyst. But to become a better analyst, I felt that you need to understand the coaching process better. So I continued to go through my coaching licenses because I felt that it was going to help me become a better analyst. So in a sense, it was like, okay, what is my goal and what do I feel? What are the periphery skills that I feel are going to help me become a better analyst? That dictates what I throw myself into in terms of, whether it's a short course, whether it's a degree, whether it's a master's degree or whatnot, right? My goal is to become the best at what I do. And I'm not going to become the best at what I do if I sit still and not learn new things, right? So that's in essence why I've gone down this path. And it's funny you say that because I'm also enrolled to do a data science degree as well, because I see the way analysis is going, in the next 5 to 10 years. And I think, well, there is a big part of it that will become science oriented, right? And I don't want to be left behind. So, I've got to do something about making sure that I build my skills around that. Hence the reason why, I'm going down that path as well.
Well, all I take from that, Mike, is there won't be much sleep for you over the next couple of years. Mate, last one for you. Real quick answer here. Where does Michael, currently as the head of football analysis there at Perth Glory, where does he see himself in 5 or 10 years' time? What would be an achievement for you, mate?
Oof. I'd love to be working in Europe. In what part of Europe, I don't know. But I'd love to be working in Europe as an analyst. The ultimate goal is to work in the English Premier League, as a head analyst in the English Premier League. That's some way away, but it's an achievable task because look where I am today. If you asked me 10 years ago, would I be where I am now? I don't know if I would have given you this answer, right? Being a head analyst for Perth Glory Football Club, but I'm here. So there's no reason why I can't get there. But a lot of hard work in between me getting to that point.
Well, Mike, I know you really well, mate, and I know that there's no doubt that you're able to achieve that. But I really appreciate your time. I am going to wrap it there. I know it's your last day in quarantine, so enjoy the time. You probably felt like you've spent the last 10 years in quarantine. But, mate, I appreciate it. Good luck with everything. Enjoy that little bit of a break that you get before you hit the ACL campaign. Thanks for your time, Mike.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Well, there we go, guys. I really wanted to catch up with Michael today because technology in sport is growing, it's developing, and there's great things that are happening. And Michael is somebody for me, of course, personal opinion, that is certainly driving to lead the way in what he's trying to achieve. We had the pleasure of having Perth Glory here on site. And it was wonderful to see the staff, and it was wonderful to see just how effective they were working together. That's technology in sport. Thanks, guys.